Welcome legends and heli heads to this video, which I know a lot of you have been waiting for some significant amount of time and have messaged me many times asking me when I'm going to do this video on the retracts for Bella, the Bell 222 700 scale fuselage. Well look, here's the thing, I haven't been able to do it until now because I didn't find a bloody solution until now. Joking aside, it's common knowledge that the most difficult aspect of the Bell 222 scale fuselage, particularly from 600 and 700 sizes, is the retracts. No question about that. It is the landing gear and it is the retractable system. Now, if you buy an 800 Roban, that is all part and parcel and you've got all the bits and pieces you need. You haven't really got to work much out, you've just got to bolt it in, literally. But with a scale fuselage, well, it comes in pieces and you've got to add servos to it and work out your linkages and all the rest of it. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's a real downer and it has made a lot of people, and I say a lot of people because you've messaged me, a lot of people actually give in on finishing their scale fuselage or even actually turn it into something like a Bell 222 that actually, I can't remember the model, that it has landing skids. I've even seen some people that have fixed wheels and made their own wheels to it. And that is just such a shame. There's no need for that. But, just like I said to you at the very beginning, to quote John Salt, it can be a real pain in the arse. And he's absolutely right. And I've had a hell of a journey with my own. But, good news, I have found a solution and I'm going to share that with you. Now look, it's 2023, the human being has turned into an awful impatient oik. Now, I'm not calling you any impatient oiks, but that is the fact of the matter, I'm afraid. So you know what? No clickbait, I'm going to tell you what the answer is up front, because that is the nature of the world nowadays. We want an executive summary to make a cup of tea. We want a bottom line up front, a too long didn't watch, a too long didn't read, yada yada. We want everything done now, including Amazon. What do you mean you'll deliver it tomorrow under Amazon Prime? I've made an order. I want it now. So look, here's the answer to your problems. If you're building a scale fuselage, particularly from Funky for a Bell 222, that's a 600 or 700 size, do yourself a favor if you want your landing gear and the retract system to look particularly good and far better than it comes, because it comes with just a piece of wire like this. So the first thing that you should do when it turns up is you take the retract system that they've bundled with it, you throw that over your shoulder and all the linkages and crap plastic ends that break, throw them away as well. Take the wheels that they've given, which are made of foam and would set themselves on fire if you rub them on a carpet, throw them away as well and start again. Now you've removed from your life anything to do with Funky's interpretation of a decent scale retractable landing gear for the 700 size specifically, Bell 222, you can now go on to the journey of sorting out the problems. The first thing you need to do is buy 3 serverless retracts, EFLG130, links below. About 20 odd quid each. You can get them from Align Trex Models, from Midland Helicopter, you can get them from Heli Shop, you can get them from Kings Lynn Models, you can get them from Wheelspin, you can get them from pretty much anywhere, but get 3 of them. Next, you need to go onto AliExpress and order 3 front landing gears. 3 front landing gears, not 3 main gears, 3 front landing gears for a Yak V2 130 EDF 70mm front landing gear. About 19 quid each. They'll take about 4 weeks to get to you. You need 3 of those. And last but not least, go to B&Q and buy 3 drill bits at 3.5mm in diameter. Not 3mm, 3.5mm. Don't try and use a tent peg, that's 3mm. You need 3.5mm, so use a drill bit because it will fit perfectly inside the front landing gear and it will fit perfectly inside the retract, and that will ensure that it sits nice and straight. There we go, that's the answer. So for those of you who wanted it, there it is. 3 EFLG130 serverless retracts, 3 front landing gear for a Yak V2 and 3 drill bits at 3.5mm. Now, if that's what you wanted to know, thanks very much for popping by. Now you've got what you need to know, go shopping. For those of you who wanted to hang around and find out what a hell of a bloody journey I've been on, so you don't fall in the same pitfalls because you think you might be able to work it out from the mess that I threw earlier on that they send you, then hang around and I'll tell you what my own story's been. But I can tell you now, It's a bit embarrassing. Before I do though, a quick addendum, and that is the reason why you need the 3 drill bits at 3.5mm, as I said, is so that it fits into the landing gear perfectly, and the remainder you'll need in the e-flite serverless retract. And you know, the main shaft at the top here is about 35mm, so you've got plenty. So clearly you're going to need to get a Dremel or a saw. Good luck if you're going to use a hacksaw. I mean, these are toughened, aren't they? So you're going to need to get a Dremel. It's as simple as that. It's the only way. I tried with a tenon saw, a wood saw, a metal saw, a hacksaw, a high tensile blade. You know, nothing could cut a drill bit, and it makes sense, doesn't it? It's a drill bit. Try cutting through a drill bit. So you need a Dremel with a cutting disc, and you cut that down to size. And it just so happens I've got a couple here, and that's what you have inside of your landing gear, and of course inside your retract. Right, anyway, so there we go. Huge danger at this point that I could actually waffle on about this for hours. So I'm not going to do that, because one, you won't hang around anyway, and two, well, you know, it's what, 2 o'clock in the morning as it is right now. That's right, legends, that's what I do for you. 2 o'clock in the morning, Mrs. Heli is currently putting the kettle on, bless her heart. But there is a danger here of spending far too long telling you what not to do. I don't want to do that. I've told you what the solution is up front, and that is the simplest way to get really good retracts and scale looking landing gear for your 700 size Bell 222, and I strongly advise you to go down that road. If you are mechanically engineered minded and you really want to try and utilize the system that Funky sent with the helicopter, which I am that way inclined, then no matter how diligent you are when it comes to setting up your retracts and the linkages and so on, you're going to be let down. You are going to be let down by the engineering error. Now, the engineering error, for those of you who are engineers or mechanically minded, is a very simple rule of engineering that says that a very small mistake, no matter how small it is, will have a greater effect further down the line. Something that is only 0.25 of a millimetre out at the very beginning of a journey will be 5 millimetres out further along the journey. The kit that Funky set you for the retractable landing gear is flawed. It is poorly put together, and as a result of that, engineering errors begin right at the very beginning that you have no control of. So no matter how diligent you are, you will not get a very good retractable landing gear. Like I said, I'm not going to spend 40 minutes explaining it, but look, I went down the analog servo route. No need to do that, and the reason for that is so they don't bind up in case there's an issue with the voltage supply. There's no need to go down the analog servo route, so don't worry about those. I then went down the low profile servo route. There's no need for that, actually. It makes it more complicated, particularly for the 700. Now, John Salt recommends low profile servos. His video is down below. But we have to remember, John built a 600 and the framework inside is slightly different. So you don't need the low profiles for the 700 size. So you know what? No point in buying those. Now, by the time you add up analog servos and low profile high voltage servos, you know, you're talking of a significant amount of money there already. I then went into using very minor mini servos and bought a load of those thinking they were the right ones, and actually they were too small. By that time I'd spent 30, 35, 40 quid on new servos that I didn't need. And as I said at the very beginning, the engineering error comes in, and although you've got the engineering error, you've then got the flawed materials error. The ball links that came with the kit, which are white, I'll try and put a picture up for you so you can see it, but they're a white ball link, etc. They were just, I think they were made out of Bakelite. In other words, they cracked very easily and broke, so they were flawed. So in the end, I used the normal ball ends that come with, you know, lots of different rod systems for blade arm grips and so on, and swashes, and tried to make my own there, and spent weeks actually making different ones. And, you know, they worked, but ultimately they would bind up, the servos would be screeching and so on. And like I said, the engineering error made it almost impossible. Now, I did get to a point where the retracts via the system that Funky sent me, you know, they did work. The wheels came up, they went back down, but they're all on different timings. The good thing with using the servo system rather than a servo-less system is simply so that you can slow down the gear coming up and the gear coming down. You can't control the speed with a serverless retract, but I'd rather have the reliability and simplicity in build by using a serverless retract than the very, very complicated nature of 3 main components with the kit that Funky set. That 3 main components are the actual retract itself, the ball link and ball rods that go from the serverless retract to the servo, and then the servo. It's just overly complicated and doesn't need to be like that. So, you know, lots of money spent on servos to try and get the right sort of servos to fit the space and, you know, so that they would work together, etc. In tandem to the servo journey, I also went down the route of the wheel journey, as you can see. The wheels that come with the actual kit is such a shame with the, you know, just a bit of wire there for the landing gear. It just removes any realism from the scale fuselage. All right, it's a scale fuselage. It's not a super scale. But when that helicopter is up in the air, does anyone else know that it's not a super scale? The answer to that is no. It is a helicopter. And the only reason, and the only, when you put your landing gear down, this flimsy bit of wire comes down. It just removes any sort of wow factor. So I wanted to make sure that the landing gear looked semi-scale, looked realistic. I measured up as best I could. I came up with 75mm. I ordered 3 lots of landing gear here. Thought I'd get away with an extra 30mm by cutting a bit out of the wing. These turn up. This was £100 worth of landing gear here. They even custom built the spring inside. I said I wanted it to be 8.5 kilos. They put in 8.5 kilo spring and even drilled it out to exactly 3.5mm. Well, I didn't know that at the time, but it was 3mm. So they even drilled it out for 3mm, exactly as I, custom built them for me. 100 odd, something, £120, I think it was. But look at the size of them. And you can only tell by the time they turn up, that actually they're not going to fit, and they don't fit inside the actual wings. So I then went down, and I ended up getting, to 70mm. And again, the same company, this lot cost me 70 quid, but the spring inside, is hardly any pressure there whatsoever, and they're just too small. They're not scale, and they're too flimsy. I mean, look at the size of the wheel on that. So again, a waste of time and energy and effort. Again, this come from Asia, so it took some time to get to me. Then I came across a video that explained about the Yak V2. I can't remember the name now, but I'll credit him and I'll put the link down below. So I went on a search for the actual part number, FMPS001, I think it is. And of course, guess what? They don't exist in the Western world. You can't get them anymore. You can't buy a Yak V2 3 front landing gears. You have to buy the whole kit. So I bought the whole kit. £120 for the landing gear for a Yak V2. This is what turned up. The 2 main gears on the wings for the Yak and the front landing gear. Obviously it's only the front landing gear that I needed. When I saw that, then I realised, oh crikey, so I even wrote to the company, can you send me 2 others? No, afraid not. And I went on an email journey for months, emailing people and shops, can you order me 3 front landing gears? The only way I was going to get 3 front landing gears was to buy 3 lots of landing gear sets for that one plane, which would have cost me about 350 quid in total. I could have bought, a new helicopter for that. I wasn't willing to do that. And then I thought of AliExpress. Is there anything that you can't get on AliExpress? Well, I'll tell you, no. And, the proof is in the pudding, because I managed to get 3 front landing gears on AliExpress for a Yak V2. And essentially their end of the story. What did it cost me in total before I got to the solution? About 400 quid. 400 quid's worth of mistakes, if not more. When actually, for the sake of, 60 quid for the serverless retracts, 3 drill bits, and 20 quid each for each one of these wheels, I had the solution right at the very beginning. So there we go. So don't fall in the same pitfall as me. Please learn from my mistakes. And if you really want really good landing gear, then I refer back to the beginning of the video. You just need 3 serverless retracts, EFLGITE130s, 3 front landing gears for a Yak V2, and get yourself 3 drill bits, 3.5mm. I think I've waffled on enough. I really hope that's helped some of you out. And I hope that, please stop spamming my inbox. I can't help any further. There's always nuances to everyone's journey, but that is the simplest solution. And with that, I'm going to have a cup of tea and go to bed. Good night. Till the next video, take care, legends.